Welcome to probably the best fitness and nutrition podcast. This is your host, Bradley Schneller, owner of Roof Fitness and Stacked Coaching. What's everybody? What's everybody?
We're going to get this right eventually.
We'll get it right eventually. What's up, everybody? I'm Bradley Schneller, owner of Roof Fitness and Stacked Coaching, and I am turning 38. And so,
happy birthday to Bradley.
Thank you. I wanted to bring in someone to interview me, and one of the podcast guests that I had the most rapport with, and who I consider to be one of my close friends, even though we don't talk often, is Dr. Boss Floss. Ryan Thibodaux of the Bucktown All-Stars, Tiger Ragtag Marching Band, Storyville Family Dentistry, Century Bike Rider, jack of everything that is awesome.
Oh, that sounds nice. I like the way that you say that.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of let Ryan take over here and take the rest of the podcast on, and I am going to answer all of his questions.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me here. It's a big compliment.
You're welcome.
For you to reach out to me and say, hey, look, for my birthday celebration, I want to do a podcast and explore some things. So, thanks for having me here. As you mentioned, we don't talk. I agree. We have great rapport.
Yeah.
I've told other people you remind me of a younger, more energetic version of myself.
I don't know how I'm more energetic than you, but yes, I'll take it.
And I think ever since we've met, which wasn't that long ago, we've kind of hit it off. And we don't talk a lot, but it seems like when we do talk, we kind of get right to it. And that's a nice friendship to have, for sure.
I'm 10 years younger than you?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
10 years. And I can't even remember what I was doing when I was 38, I guess.
That's good. That's good to know.
Right? I think I was probably right where you are with your kids, the same age, you know?
Well, it just means that anything that I do right now that might be detrimental to my life isn't so detrimental that it's going to affect me in 10 years.
That's right. That's right. You could work through it all, for sure. So we sat and we chatted a little bit, and we talked about some books we had been reading, which I think is an interesting topic that we could touch on. And then we just kind of explored a couple of questions that we might want to run through. And we were talking about ideas, because I think one of the things you and I said is how we wanted to be defined not necessarily by our current story or our past story, but we wanted to be energized by what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the keys to the way you and I live, is that we keep things on our calendar, on our itinerary, and on our priority list that naturally are a fuel source for us. Avoiding the day-to-day kind of grind,
right,
by trying to interject upcoming events, upcoming travel, upcoming expansions in business, explorations of ideas and such. And that just, I really think that's an important point of living an exciting life, is to realize that's an exercise.
Yeah.
That you have to participate in. So what's got you excited right now?
Whew. So this sounds crazy, but I've reinvested myself into my kids.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's crazy.
And there's so much focus on success, right? And success in business. I would say for our age group, it really comes down to success in business, you know?
Yep.
And especially for the circles that I play in, it's more entrepreneurial type of people. Yep. And it's people talking metrics and what's your growth like and all that other stuff. And so for the longest time, I focused on that and kind of threw myself in there. At the same time, I was always fantasizing about what's next.
Yes.
Where can I get to? What's next? I'm fantasizing about this thing 5 years from here and what I'll be able to do then.
Right.
And not focusing on now and the present. And I had a conversation with my wife, Emily, today, and I basically broke down and cried and said that one thing that I've done really, really well lately is be super present with my kids. And I was thinking, like, what the fuck was I doing the past 2 years?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I missed so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, the reality is I was there for all the things.
Right.
But I mean, like, story time at bedtime.
Little
Things like that. Little things, and I still coached my kids' soccer team and things like that. But the day-to-day intricacies that I basically let my parents do or Emily do, I was missing.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because we had an experience, Linda and I had an experience where we were either listening to something or watching something recently, and it was from a Broadway show from Wicked. And I said, that's a catchy song, that'd be cool to see that. And she was like, Ryan, you saw that play, you sat through it. And I was like, no, I didn't. She was like, no, you did. You were physically there. And I was like, wow. So I was physically there, yet I was so preoccupied at the time with the hustle and everything else that I wasn't really there. I didn't even remember hardly sitting at that play. And that was a moment for me of hearing her say that, because your kids will never say anything like that. I mean, your wife is there to observe that. Maybe your close friends or your parents will say that. But then you wonder, how many experiences was I present for, but not truly being engaged in that experience?
And I think, I mentioned the last couple of years, I think it extends past that. I think for me, I have lived in a dream state for 2 decades, and it's weird where it's not weird. It's just my personality where I've always if I align myself with the right people, if I align myself with the right things, my intelligence will get me where I want to get, and I'll fall in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never really just stopped and was like, hey, you know what? It's okay to just be good at the day-to-day and be satisfied with what I have here at the gym, what I have with our stacked coaching and our nutrition program. Like, be happy with the success that I've created for my clients. Be happy with the changes people have made in their lives. Like, I have just shit on all those feelings for so long because I'm thinking about what can I build it so that I can build this $1 million house with a pool and have people over, and I'm picturing the party.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of fucking living every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. How many parties are you actually missing to get to the dream party that you have in your
head? Right. And so I've started to do that and live in the present, the last couple of weeks. And I know it's short-lived, but that is what I'm excited about, is doing that and living that day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, it said that to live with a full heart and live a life of abundance, you don't need more things. You just need more awareness as to what's going on around you, to the relationships that you have.
And yes, and success is relative.
It is.
Right?
And I was going to challenge you on that because the other day we were talking and I proposed, an idea to you that I thought you would be really good at. And you said, well, I can't do that because I'm not successful enough. And I went and thought about that. I was like, and I said, well, first you have to define success is the way I think I answered it. But just by adding not successful enough, says who?
Says who? Yeah, I mean, it
says your internal voice, that nagging voice.
It's funny because I talk about with our clients all the time, limiting beliefs, right? We all put these limiting beliefs on, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? And that's part of this, right? Yeah. That's part of me saying I'm not successful enough to be able to do this thing we were talking about. Yeah. But on the same token, I thought when I viewed success, I viewed it as money, then time, right? Yeah. But having this time while doing money, having money which creates the ability for me to do fun things with the time that I have.
Right.
But it's, as I sit with that, like, there's not a lot of people that have money and time at 45 or 38. We'll say 38.
Yeah.
Right? Most of those people are above 50. Okay. Maybe earlier, but most people are above 50. And you got to have some luck into some stuff maybe to happen. Now, like, there's some people that are special and grinders, you know, and awesome for those people. I don't think I'm one of those, you know? And so when I think about what does success look like to me, it's being happy with what I do and it providing a living for me while I have time for my family. Here's the funny thing. I have that now.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I just came to that realization within the past couple of weeks. So
yeah. And sometimes it takes a knock on the head to realize
that. Absolutely.
You know, it really does. Yeah, you're talking about a magazine envision of what success is, right? Financial independence, no worries about cash flow. And as a result of that, the time allowed to do the things you really want to do.
Yeah.
How many people truly achieve that? And like you said, if they do, most probably achieve it later in life when they don't have maybe the physical ability or the creativity to explore. Because I know some very financially fit people that don't have the creative muscle to explore further than what they do.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable doing exactly what they do. That's an interesting one. That just really sat on me when you said not successful enough, because I've been there too. And ultimately the robber of joy is the comparison, right? So you sit back and you look at other models similar to yours in the fitness world, and it's easy to sit back and compare and say, well, that person's X amount of members more than me, or X amount of percentage growth, annually or monthly, or X amount of dollars, or drive a nicer car, and it's all a comparison game.
Yeah.
You know, it really is, and it eats away at your sense of self.
We were talking on Sunday, and I'd like you to share the story with me. We were talking about vacations, and you were talking to me about the vacation that Owen, your son, found to be the most memorable. And you've done a lot of amazing things. You've taken your kids on very expensive vacations. But can you tell everyone what was his most memorable or most fun vacation he went on with you?
Yeah, so my thoughts were he would answer saying that it was a ski trip because he loves to go skiing.
Yeah.
We've skied with family. We've also done like a dude's ski trip, which I know he really enjoyed. We've done Disney. We've done cruises. We've done Mexico. We've done, parts outside of the United States. And he said that his favorite trip, and he actually wrote about it, I don't think it was in his college admission paper, but it was for a pretty big paper, was a simple trip that we had planned where we flew into Oregon. We rented a camper van, and our plan was over 8 days was just to drive and hang out and check out Washington State. We were in the northern part of Oregon, so we started right at the Columbia River Gorge, Lewis and Clark territory, and we did some camping. We had no reservations. So we weren't targeting to be here on a certain day and here on a certain day. And we just kind of did it spontaneously. And each day he would sleep in the van, and I would get up, and I would usually go on a light run or a hike to kind of scope things out.
Yeah.
And then I'd come back and I'd start cooking breakfast. It had it was a cooking unit in it. And he'd start to wake up, and we'd wake up, have breakfast, and then we'd go off and do a little adventure. Sometimes we'd stay overnight. Sometimes we would move to the next. And over 8 days, we only had one destination, and that was we visited some friends in Canada. And so it was just hanging out. We did Mount Rainier. We did the Washington coast, which is gorgeous. We called it our Sasquatch adventure. We were looking for Sasquatch. And we did some fun stuff. And it was just a lot of just hanging out and sitting around, just doing a lot of nothing. And that's the trip that he spoke about, that he enjoyed the most. You know, we had this one experience where on this last night of the trip, we were at Mount Rainier, and we were camping not quite at probably mid-level mountain campsite. So real clear skies, stream running by. And I said,
wow,
let's pull our chairs down right next to the stream. And you could hear these massive boulders running down this snow melt stream. And we're just gonna sit here, and we're gonna count to 10. We're gonna find 10 shooting stars. Well, we got to like 8 or 9 faster than we thought we would. And I was like, we're not going in until we see an amazing shooting star. And within 10 minutes of saying that, we saw one start almost like in what would have been the valley, like coming up the stream. And it was to the point where I could look at him and say, do you see what I'm seeing? And we're looking at it. And this shooting star just rolled over our head and just kept going. And it was, and I was like, we're not going to end with a better experience than that.
Let's
like,
go.
That was the way to take it. And we still laugh about that shooting star because it was ridiculous. It was so bright and beautiful and well timed, and almost like it was sent for us, you know. And that's the trip he talks about out of all the trips we've taken. And it was one where it wasn't over planned. In fact, there was no plan, just hanging out.
And so we talked about that, and we said the big thing that comes from that is it's time. It's time to bond between each other. And I think, you know, for so long, I do this, other people do it, is like, we just want to fill time with these things instead of letting us just be.
Yeah.
You know, like last night, we went, normally, like, I'll drop my son off for soccer, go home, I'll meal prep or do work or whatever, then I'll drive back and pick him up. But last night, I decided, we went back home for a little bit. I fed Vivian some food, and then I was like, let's go to the last 30 minutes and just watch your brother practice. So we went out there, and I sat on the ground, and Vivian sat on my lap, and we looked up at the stars. And we wished upon stars. And I didn't care about I took a picture because it was cute, you know, but other than that, like, my phone was away from me. Like, we were just there chilling, just taking it in. And I'm like, man, I've been missing this for years.
Yeah. Well, you're waking up at a good time because you haven't missed it.
Right.
You're waking up at a great time. We talked about the other day, too, a book that I recently read called The Big Leap that was given to me by a friend. And I read it at a time where we were evacuated with Ida. We were out on the West Coast in California, and she gave me this book, and I just dove into it. And he talks about existing in a zone of genius where you're naturally at your most creative, energetic point. And he says when you're living in that point, time is expansive. You're not filling the minutes in, right? It's not finite. You don't truly have 24 hours in a day, because once you start taking all that stuff away, it's amazing what you can accomplish and what you experience. Not accomplish as in checklist, but what you experience in a full day. You know, and I think a lot of people probably had some of that experience when the power went out with the storm, and they're like, wow, this day is really long because you didn't have the distractions of, you know, TV and the phone and all those other things going on. You could just kind of sit in that time, you know.
Well, I told you this weekend, the AT&T had an outage for fiber at my house, and our TV watching is through AT&T. So we went almost 48 hours without the internet at the house. And I mean, I had work to do, so I ran a hotspot, but like, it made it difficult for distractions. So what I ended up doing, like, it's stuff that like my parents do with my kids that I don't. And it's like finding different things in the backyard in, as my daughter would call it, nature, to help make a picture for her aunt or my aunt. Like, and she wanted to glue it on paper like and then color it. Like a collage of leaves and flowers and things like that. I fucking had fun. Like, that's what we did, you know? And then I played cards with my son and things like that. And there was no, like, electronics happening.
We do this fun thing when we go out to visit. Some of our best friends live out in on a farm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And they have kids that are just a year or two younger than ours, and they've grown up together, so they love each other like first cousins. And when we go out there, the dad and I will pull out. He has a satellite image of his property, and we'll put together kind of a scavenger hunt around the property. And it's completely ridiculous. Some of the things that we have them find and look over and turn over and all this stuff. And I've never seen more joy out of 4 kids coming back. They're out there for like an hour and a half, and we give them a walkie-talkie for like emergency clues. If they just really get hung up on something,
right?
And he can follow them on his property using a little GPS tracker. Like, oh, here
That's pretty cool.
They're almost on top of it. They're going to figure it out. And if they can't, they'll say, all right, we have the clue. We're standing right here. We know it's this. And then he'll give them a little lead.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they'll have to dig or climb something to find the treasure. And the best treasure we ever had for them is we had a box of donuts. Those kids came back soaking wet, being in the woods, mud all over their legs, scraped up with branches, and a box of, a half dozen donuts, as happy as can be. And that's just one of those experiences where you say, man, it doesn't take much,
No,
it doesn't.
No.
And here you are planning the 10-day getaway to Disney and the meals and all that other stuff. And, it's not that they don't care about it, but they
right.
really just...
Yeah, are we doing that for them or are we doing it for us?
That's right. Yep. That's right.
And that's the other thing I thought about a lot is like, how many times have I done something for someone under the guise of me doing it selflessly, but really I was doing it to fulfill something within me.
Yep.
Fuck.
I know. How much of your life, have you done that?
Yeah.
Oh man. Do you live by a set of like core values or something? I know you're like a planner and you're a checklister and all that.
So I'm not. I'm not a planner and I'm not a checklist. No, that's Emily. She's a planner and checklist. I live by the seat of my pants, which
is most urgent. Okay.
Yeah, which is probably not great.
Well, it's gotten you
it's gotten me where I am.
Yeah.
It's also scary for people, and like I do live by feel, and it's if I feel something is right, I go all into it.
Yeah.
For example, and this is where it can bite you in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll share this example, and this is perfect for this podcast. Everybody knows the story that I tore my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I found Active Life, which is this company that's like online PTs, but they help programming my workouts and stuff like that. And they basically, through programming my fitness routine on a daily basis, I was able to recover, be pain-free, doing stuff in the gym I haven't done in a really long time, and without surgery. And it changed my life, and it changed the way I thought about fitness. So I was like, fuck, if it's good for me, it's good for everyone else. Like this. And so I found out there's like an educational course for it. And I'm like, this is what we're going to do at Rue.
Mm-hmm. How was it different from what you were already doing at Rue?
So what we were already doing at Rue is just like group fitness. I program a workout for the gym. And I mean, we still somewhat do that. It's changed a little bit, but it was very like, hey, this is CrossFit. And then, we were always different, but similar to what other gyms are doing in the area in terms of what people might call CrossFit. Okay. And so what I saw was this emphasis on someone's anatomy or their range of motion or mobility or whatever, and having workouts be programmed specifically to that so they can get the best benefit for them individually.
Got it.
And as I'm going through this education and these courses and seminars, I'm like, shit, the stuff that I did before seemed like kindergarten. Like how we focused on fitness before, it felt like kindergarten, and this felt like graduate level classes.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
And so me being who I am is like, we're going all in. Let's do this.
Everybody.
Like, let's go. Boom. You're either on board or you're not.
Right.
Well, not a lot of people are on board.
Yeah, scared a lot of people.
Scared a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it actually, for a little bit, if I'm being totally honest, created a little bit of a schism in the gym and didn't feel great. And I feel like we've since repaired a lot of that. But it had me going like, we got to slow down. And it was one of those things where, I didn't properly prep the gym. I didn't properly prep the coaches. I didn't properly, like, the market, you know, whether it's New Orleans, Jefferson, you know, specifically Rue Fitness was not ready for the next step.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And by me going 0 to 100, I created tension and difficulty that didn't need to be created because I just flew by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
So lessons learned.
Yep.
And we're back to having fun and doing group fitness with a little mix of that. And we're still doing that. You know, I have individually programmed clients now. So we're slowly leaking it in there. I have some coaches going through the courses right now so that we can give people more individual attention. But on a large scale rollout, I pull back completely on that.
Interesting. So if you, so that was a gut feeling and it charged you in a way and you jumped after it.
Yeah.
I've had some experiences like that too. And I found that in reflection that usually I had just, I'd failed to really communicate at a pace that people were receiving. So my pace was so intense. I was on page 20 of the booklet and they were just starting to turn the first page. And I experienced the same like pushback.
Yeah. It's like I had seen the future and I had already written it out. And why are you fuckers not on board yet? You know, like what's taking y'all so long? The reality is my communication was so poor that they had no idea what was going on.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I had similar experiences that, and it was honestly through Bucktown that there was a time, probably 8 or 10 years ago, when I, in my own head, had created this vision of what the next level looked like.
For the band.
Yeah. And I drew some comparisons from people outside of our current market. Yeah. So like, you know, I was exposed to a couple of shows and I was like, well, this is at a higher level than what we're experiencing locally. And different light show, different sequence, different this and that. And I remember coming back to the band and saying, well, this is a no-brainer. We got to do this and we got to do this. We got to invest in this and our website needs to look at this. And I've already done the research on the websites and this is what theirs looks like. And we need to get some people in here to do some you know, first-class interviews so we can put the video on our websites and this and that. And the guys were like, they just like, what are you talking about? You know?
Right.
And then, and it created that same type of, you know,
friction.
Yeah.
Friction. Friction's the better word for it.
Annoyed by it. They were annoyed by it. You know, because I'm pulling and they're pulling back. And the interesting thing is that, like you said, of those 10 ideas that I shared, eventually 2 or 3 of them came to fruition.
Yeah.
They did. But the whole plan was not going to be digested in one big bite like I thought it was ready for. And it probably wouldn't have worked if we would have done all those 10 things. And they wouldn't have been part of the decision-making. It would have been me leading. That was the hard thing. So now I've learned in my office that if I have an idea or if I have an interest about something, the first thing I should do is kind of cultivate that same interest with my team members. Like instead of trying to sell them on a new product.
Well, that's what I did.
Concept.
I sat everybody down and was like, this is why we should do this. Like I was selling them on it. You know what I mean? Instead of gauging interest.
Yes.
You know, and presenting the information, be like, what does everyone think?
Right.
I didn't do that at all. So lesson here for everyone listening is communication is key. Yeah. Think about how you present that information to the audience. What are you trying to accomplish by that communication? And if you think about like what you're trying to accomplish, it's going to change the tenor at which you present the information for sure. You know?
Sure.
And like you, we still have a lot of those ideas that we were working on, and a lot that I just threw away because it wasn't right. The timing wasn't right. Our culture was already like one thing, and it's hard to change that, right? Yeah. And so we're working on those ideas, and how can we get better with no friction?
Right.
You know,
and it'd be a team effort.
And be like a team effort.
Yeah.
I had we had our, just today, we just finished our stacked coach and nutrition meeting with our coaches. And I had some ideas for how I think maybe the program should change. And I presented the information today with like, hey, does anyone feel like we're having some issues with this, and this? Like, what do you guys think would be some solutions for how we could fix that? You know, I have one, but like, let's sit on it. We'll come back next week and talk about it. Like, that's a much better way to handle creating change and pushing a program forward rather than the way I just
because it gives
laid the hammer down before.
An opportunity for ownership of it, right? If it's just Bradley's idea, then it takes some more. Oh, we're just doing it because it's Bradley's thing. It's this and that. But if we sat down and we talked about this and we shared what we thought, then you get that ownership.
Also, no one else experienced the life changes that I experienced.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I wanted to impose how I felt on everyone else.
Yeah.
Which is incorrect.
There. Yeah. The other challenging thing, too, is that you've had great success taking ideas and putting them into action.
Yeah.
They haven't all been home runs, but you've had a lot of home runs.
Yes.
And so in a way, you feel you've earned the ability to present and you've earned the trust. But in actuality, if your team is not bought into it, then it's just another idea, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know that phrase, shoot or shoot?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to keep shooting.
Right.
It's like, you know, there's this guy who just got drafted by the Pelicans named Trey Murphy, number 25. He is a rookie out of Virginia, and he is a beast behind the arc, okay? And he was doing an interview the other day, and he said, you know, my job is to shoot. I'm a shooter. I'll always be a shooter. If I miss 14 in a row, it's not going to scare me from hoisting up that next one. And that's a lot like business, you know, like people that are entrepreneurs, you need to keep hoisting up those ideas.
Absolutely.
You're going to fail more than you succeed.
Yes.
You absolutely will fail more than you succeed. But on those, it only takes one success to change your life.
Yep.
The failures, they're not going to, like I said, nothing I do at 38 is going to fuck me up till I'm 48.
Right.
You know? But if I find that one idea that succeeds, well, that will affect me at 48. Yeah.
For sure. And take you to the next level, the next step, and continue on. Do you have like a mantra or anything that you say to get yourself mentally, if you're not feeling it, you're a movement guy, so do you resort to exercise and movement, or do you do mindfulness stuff, or repeat a mantra, or do you have...
So I don't, you know, it's funny, like my therapist says I'm a sensitive guy. But I am not a woo-woo type of guy. Like, I'm definitely not woo. So like the idea of repeating a mantra would be difficult for me. Okay. I know it works for a lot of people. For me, it is difficult. The thing that gets me like jacked for the day is opportunities. And so like I always talk about how Monday morning is my favorite morning.
Okay.
Because I have a whole new week. It's the new week. So it's like last week was last week. This is this week with a whole brand new opportunities.
Wow.
And that's kind of how I approach it. So realistically, like my morning sets me up for success. Like if I have a good morning, the rest of my day is gravy.
Right.
And so to me, that's waking up and like making a good cup of coffee. And I do write out like the things that I want to be successful at that day. And it's not like I have a list that's a to-do list, but it's not a to-do list. It's a success list. Like if I do these 3 things or these 5 things today will be a success. And then I even rank those. Sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, okay, this is the most important thing. If I do this one thing today, today will be a success.
Got it.
I think the problem is when a lot of us focus on, I got 20 things I need to do today, and you're paralyzed
Yes.
by it, right? The reality is do you really need to do all 20 of those things today?
No.
What's the one thing you need to do for today?
Right.
Because one is more important than the rest.
Clearly.
And then you just go down from there. Rank them. So that's kind of how I set my day up. That's what gets me jacked up. Does it always work out? No.
Yeah.
Bombs happen in the middle of the day to the best of us, right? But more often than not, it works.
And are you a routine guy at this point in your life? Have you
Yes.
established a routine? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very, I love food. I love cooking. But for the most part, I eat the same stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know, if you listen to this podcast, that I weigh and track my food every single day. I've even brought scales to meals. So Ryan and I went and had smoothies at Main Squeeze on Sunday with the kids, and to kind of prep for this. And I had a smoothie. I had their pumpkin spice smoothie. That's not one of their regular things. So I was trying to find what amounts they put in it, and I saw like right over the counter there was a picture with like ounces of this and tablespoon of this, and I like reached my phone over, took a picture of it so that I could go back in
And track that.
and track it all.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little much.
Wow.
but doing that allows me to create routine and control. So like if I can control my nutrition, that's something that I can control that no one else can take over from me. And just having a little bit of that, like, gives me safety and security for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it just helps me remain calm. So, like, that is my routine.
Safety, security, and momentum. I think momentum is so key for people to understand, to live in a world where everything's driven by energy. Then there are ways that you can gain momentum throughout the day. And you mentioned that by controlling your meal plan. So by doing that, you eliminate minutes, if not hours, of decision making on what you're going to eat.
Yes.
Whereas other people, like when I go to a restaurant and someone opens the menu and it takes them 20 minutes to process the menu, I was like, how can it possibly take you 20 minutes to process? And Linda does this every time. And then she'll look at it for 20 minutes and then the waitress will come and she'll say, or waiter, and she'll say, what are you getting? And I was like, what does it matter? You just spent 20 minutes dissecting the menu.
One of my pet peeves, and people do this all the time, Emily does this, and I laugh about it. It's not a pet peeve, but I think it's funny, okay? Is they'll be like, they ask the server, what is your favorite thing on the menu? Like, we have similar tastes. Like,
right.
Yeah. And it's actually like, I think it puts the server in a shitty situation because if it's their favorite thing and you don't like it, does it affect their tip?
Right. It probably does.
Right? So that's fucked up. Don't do that.
Yeah. So we were talking about just how you can gain momentum through controlling the way you expend your time on choices like, what you're going to eat, how you're going to spend your morning, where you're going to get your coffee, what that looks like. For me, I have a very simple routine of, you call it a mental checklist, but for me, when I'm getting up in the morning, same thing. I like to have a cup of black coffee, some quiet time to read. Usually Linda's right next to me when we're reading. We're not always talking about what we're reading, but we're just having quiet time to kind of wake up, get going. And then one of my first wins is I like to leave the house with the bed made.
Oh, me too. Got to make the bed.
It's got to be made. And it's like, it's a victory, right?
It is a victory.
And then I make the bed. And then after I finish making the bed, I usually do a set of push-ups. And that's like 10 to 15 push-ups. We're not talking about 200 push-ups. And that's just because it gets me moving. That's the first part of the day where I'm like, actually, okay, like today's getting going, have some water. I'm doing a quick get together of what I'm gonna wear, and then ideally I'm getting on the bike and riding into work. Something I've been doing lately is I've been trying to use positive thoughts in the morning to kind of snowball for the rest of the day. So as I'm riding the bike, I notice a lot of people in the morning are kind of waking up on the bike path. So I'm purposely like the good morning guy now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I like it.
And it's so goofy to where people now smile when they see me coming, because I'm riding my bike. I got flashers on it, and goofy helmet and all that stuff. And I'm like, good morning. And I see a lot of the same people doing their thing. And I got that idea from I was on a service trip in Puerto Rico, and each morning we were with a group of high school girls. It was my daughter's class from Sacred Heart, and we would meet for like 8:30. Well, I was up much earlier than that, so I get up every morning. I'd go to the beach, watch sunrise, and I'd do a run. And when I tell you, I don't know if it was just like the area of Puerto Rico that we were in, but every person I saw on the street. Most of them going to work or leaving work or whatever. Yeah. It's like, 6 a.m., 6:30 in the morning. Every person said, buen dia, like good morning. Like it didn't matter if I was on the other side of the street. It was like a buen dia. And I was, clearly a tourist or not, Puerto Rican, dark complected. But that was part of, and it just became like music to my run. I remember that more than I remember kind of where I ran or how long I ran or what I ate for breakfast. I just remember everyone saying, buen dia.
It's funny. Like I think about that. Like my dad does that. He tells everyone good morning all the time. Yeah. Or like, hey, how you doing? That type of thing. And for a while, like in certain situations, I'd be like, wow, just don't talk to those people, But I've never seen anyone dislike it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like disarming.
Yeah.
And it makes people exhale and relax.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, now a lot of people have pods in, right? So when you acknowledge them and just say something, good morning, they can sometimes hear you and know what you're saying. It's like, it's almost jarring to a point to where you see someone walking and their head's down and they're listening to whatever with their pods, and then they look up and they see you blinking. Hey, good morning.
I had a friend of mine, she said that she loves going to the grocery store because like she has a lot of random conversation. And I'm like, oh, I never have random conversation, but that's because I have earbuds in.
Right.
And I'm like purposely trying not to talk to anyone.
Right.
And maybe I'm missing out on like opportunities for human interaction.
Huh. On an airplane, do you wear headphones, or are you a talker to the guy next to you or the guy?
I will talk if someone talks to me.
Okay.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
If I feel like we're a good fit for conversation.
That's great.
I also I will not fly regular economy.
Okay.
Like I have to at least be in Comfort Plus.
Okay. Is that a way of screening out who you might appropriately talk to, or is it just?
I like the other seats are too small. Like I get my knees are weird, and if I have to sit with them like super cramped up, I can't do it. Yeah. And it's a little bit of a screening process.
Yeah. Is Emily a big talker in like public situations like that?
I don't think Emily is a huge talker on a plane, but she will.
Yeah.
We're both open to it. Like I'm open to talking. Yeah. Like I will have a conversation with you. I remember I was flying back from Wyoming after our trip to Grand Teton National Park, and this lady, she was coming to New Orleans to do like a restaurant tour with her husband and her son. Her son is a chef in Northern California, and she's telling me about this town they live in, Northern California, and she's talking about how beautiful it is, and we're talking 45 minutes, an hour or something like that. Started talking towards the end. I give them some restaurant recommendations, and she tells me about this private beach they have. Well, it's not private, it's public, but no one knows about it. And she's like, how beautiful of a beach it is in this town in Northern California. And I'm like, well, what town? She's like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, why can't you tell me? And she said, well, if I told you, everyone will know where this beach is.
Right.
And I don't want people to know.
The secret is out.
Yeah, so no one talks about this beach. Is that nuts or what?
That's interesting.
I mean, good for them.
Yeah, good for them is right.
Because I was going to go visit that beach.
Right, you would crash it with a...
Screw that, I'm going.
No pants. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I find that I have more... I like to engage in conversation when I know it'll be unexpected and a little, I won't necessarily sit and talk extensively with a server, a waiter, or a steward or something like that. But if I'm checking out in the grocery aisle, I might talk to the person who's checking me out, something like that.
It's interesting. Like, when do you feel, are there ever like, let me rephrase this. Is there a conversation where you would want to cut off or keep going? Like, is there a difference between the conversations? Do you ever like have a hard stop, like, hey, I gotta go, or like shut down a conversation? Or are you open to always a conversation just flowing?
Linda would say that I can check out pretty easily and just kind of like to the point where she and the recipient and everyone's confused around just because I'm on the next thing. So she would probably say that I check out pretty quickly.
I think it depends on the person. Like if your personality, like if there's tonal fluctuations in the person conversing with me, like I can keep it going. Like there's variety here. Right. But there are some people that I speak to that is just very monotone through the entire conversation. I'm like, I got to get out of this.
Right.
I'm running here. Oh, I got to take this call. Excuse me.
Well, this is the other thing that I've noticed about myself, is that in a social situation where there's a lot of people or a lot of couples, oftentimes I will guiltlessly engage in a conversation with one or two people. So
you can bow out.
Well, no. Just because I'm more interested.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Instead of a group
of that, Linda loves to mingle with everyone. Oh, did you talk to so and so? Did you see something? No, I was talking to John the whole time.
I see where you're going with that. I'm more of like, I want to be in a pod of 4 or 5 people to where if the conversation goes in a direction that I don't feel like conversing anymore, I can bow out and that conversation's still flowing.
Oh yeah. Your exit doesn't completely undermine the conversation.
Right. Like no one's going to realize I'm leaving. They're all still conversing.
Right. Yeah, I've really learned a lot about myself socially. And we talk about the age difference. In the last 5 or 10 years, I've learned a lot about, like, I now recognize, and I'll say, like, if people invite me someplace, even if I'm interested in going, but it's kind of sitting on the fence, I'll say, I'm really socially awkward. And you probably don't want me hanging around your thing, and it's the truth. Like, I don't consider myself like the guy that you would invite to a Saints football party. I'm not going to tell jokes. I'm not going to walk around the room and entertain. I don't necessarily want to talk a whole bunch about my music career or teeth. I certainly don't want to talk about teeth. I think I'm kind of a boring guy to have around.
I don't think you're a boring guy.
Group, and then so
in a group setting.
Yeah, so then people say, well, you're an entertainer. You're around people all the time.
It's different.
But I have the buffer of my horn. Like, that is a wall. And I'm up on the stage. I'm interacting in that group, but I'm not truly in that group, So accepting that I'm a little socially awkward. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a casual drinker. So
I'm no longer. I used to be. I'm not anymore.
Yeah, I won't show. I don't like if I won't day drink at a party. Just because it's a party and we're watching a football game, I won't have 4 beers. I won't have 2 beers. I probably won't have 1 beer. It's just not me. I've been in a couple of guy groups where I now can, again, guiltlessly say, I'm just going to go read my book, or I'm going to go rest, or I'm going to go do something else, or I'm going to go take a walk, I'm not a hanger out kind of guy,
It's interesting. So I do love learning and conversing with all of our members here at Rue, like our staffed clients. Most of the conversation is interesting, and I like learning about people's lives. The good thing about it is, like, I can turn that off and leave, right? But
and I'm much like that in my dental practice.
Right. The other problem, though, it's not a problem, but it's like, so I have these conversations every day. So when I get home, I'm like, deuces, I'm out. Yes. Like, no one talked to me. So my neighbors hate me. I'm pretty sure. I talked about this in my 8:30 class the other day. I'm like, my neighbors hate me because I don't want to hang out. Like, don't invite me to your stuff. I don't want to be in a text thread. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone when I get home.
Right. Yeah. Same way. And I'll tell the kids or tell Linda that I'm out of words for today. You know?
I'm out of words. Sorry.
I've like spent a lot of time engaging with clients all day long of all ages.
Right.
Truly giving myself and interacting and learning more about them, much like you do, and like ways that we inspire each other to make each other better. And sometimes you get home or you get to a weekend and you get to a point in your day where you just out of words. I get that for sure. Do you eat lunch by yourself or in a group?
By myself.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and early on, people used to think that was weird. Like at my office, I don't eat with the rest of the team. I love them. They're always talking about funny stuff, goofy stuff, and laughing. And it's not that I don't want to laugh. It's just that I need that time.
I actually go home for lunch every single day. And now, these days, I work mostly from home. My life's a little bit different now. Like I've had a major change in my life, and it's changed up how I commit my time.
Yes.
Part of how I commit my time now is more towards my kids. Okay. But because of that, it's changed how I need to structure my day. So consequently, I'm not at the gym a lot in the afternoons anymore. I'm either picking up my kids or doing some type of activity with my kids in the afternoon. So typically my morning is either I work from home in the morning and I'm at the gym for a couple hours in the afternoon, but like early afternoon, or I go to the gym early, coach, work out, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
But for me, for the longest time, it was like I went home from lunch because because I talk to people all day for a living, basically. Either I'm doing nutrition check-ins, talking to people, or talking to clients, or coaching and conversing and socializing. I like quiet.
Yeah. Yep. I'm the same. And I think it makes me more present when I'm with people because I have that quiet time. We talked before about Tim Ferriss, and in his early writing, he talked about the new rich. He said the old concept of rich had to do with bank accounts and assets and all that stuff. And the new rich have a better understanding of how they use their time.
I love that.
Yeah. Because they put a value on their hours. Early on in my dental career, I didn't work Fridays and I cut some hours in my week. And even some professional consultants would say, well, you really should, work this Friday and it would give you the XYZ and you could make X amount more dollars. But it didn't translate for me because the time was more valuable than anything else. To have that time. And in that concept that I mentioned earlier about expansive time, if you want to understand what expansive time is, try running your average errands on a Saturday morning versus on a Tuesday from 9 to 11. Go from a Saturday from 9 to 11 or 9 to 1.
You get much less stuff done, right?
Yeah. I mean, just like the barriers aren't there, right? Nobody's in the grocery store. The post office doesn't have a line. If you need to call someone, the likelihood of them being at their kid's game is minimal. So that's when time becomes expansive, when you can do things when others are engaged in work.
It's interesting we talk about time, and I just talked about how my priorities changed, right? Well, with that is how I had to change how I exercise, right? I don't have an hour every day to exercise. I don't. I cannot do all the things I need to do and exercise for an hour. Some days I do, but most of the time I don't. And I can't do it every day. And so what I am trying to accomplish is be active during the day in terms of walking and stuff like that. But, if my priority is lifting some weights because, either body composition or just resistance training makes me feel the best, then that's what I do because I know I have 35 minutes. So it's 35 minutes of lifting weights and I'm out. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've seen a lot, and this is what separates what I try to accomplish through Stacked, what I try to accomplish through Rue, is this should be one part of your life. It should not be your life.
Yeah, I like that.
There is no one here that fitness should be the priority or nutrition should be the priority. It should be a priority, but not the priority.
Yeah.
And so when you separate the difference, okay, where does this rank in your day? If you're going to be hard on yourself because you miss a day working out, because your day was so stressful from work and then you had to go get your kids and prep like that, don't work out. Don't worry about it. Stop thinking about it. Like, it's okay. Go to the next day. Okay. Like, it's okay. Or go for a walk later with your children or do something active like that. But I'm going to say it, for 100% of the people here at this gym, for 100% of the people in our nutrition coaching program, like, it does not define who you are. Figure out a way to work it in your life. It shouldn't be your life.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you look at it like that, it can change how you view workouts, how you view intensity. Like, am I doing this because I want to be healthy for the long term? How does that look? Well, that includes mental health as well.
Sure.
Mental health, emotional health. It's not just your normal health. And then, like, if you were so stressed out that working out or nutrition is causing additional stress, you were not becoming healthier. You were becoming unhealthy. Right. Because it affects other parts of your life. And that's kind of like where I want to take the gym and where I want to take nutrition, is looking at this from a whole health perspective. Like, how does this fit into your life? How does your life look around this? Right? I think the days of, like, pushing, there's a podcast called The Best Hour of Your Day, because a lot of CrossFit gyms used to call CrossFit the best hour of your day. Should working out be the best hour of your day? Or should be your kids running in and giving you a hug, that time you spend with them, dinner with your family, should that be the best hour of your day?
Yeah, and I would add that your kids running in and you being fit enough to bend over and pick them up and lovingly embrace them and spin them around and maybe dance around the room without get winded, because you've done some weight training.
Yeah.
You've done some cardio work. Can you go on a hike with them? When you show up to the dad's event, are you the dad that's sitting on the side drinking a beer or drinking whatever with the other dads? Or are you the guy?
No, I'm walking around without a shirt on.
Yeah.
Joking.
Right.
I'm joking.
Are you the guy playing tag? Are you the guy being active? And I think that having fitness be a major part of your life.
it's a priority.
Yeah.
And what I've realized more than ever in the past month is it's not the priority, even as a gym owner. And I want to help people realize how you can fit. I empathize with people big time, more than ever, when someone's like, here's my life, I don't have time. Okay. And a lot of gym owners and trainers would be like, that's bullshit. You have time to work out.
Yeah.
That's not the right response.
Yeah.
Let's look at this and say, like, all right, let's look at your day. Where can we find time? We can do it, but it's being a little bit more empathetic to people's entire life situation. And I think, I own a fitness and a nutrition coaching company. I think it's super important. I think it's super important how it affects our life, how it makes us feel, and all those other things. But on a day-to-day basis, like, we have to take what life gives us and make the best decisions based out of those.
Sure. I agree. And find balance and all that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. My exercise and fitness has evolved into, working it into my day, because it's easier for me to stop and do a set of dips and push-ups in between clients when I have a 10-minute break and just give, a 2-minute effort to do that and do some stretches.
Yeah, that's
walk
great.
Outside. I'm not a great stretcher, but I do like working in the garden. So when I work in the garden, I make a point to bend in certain ways that allows me to stretch my legs, my hamstrings and such, and, get in deep squats to open up my hips, because I don't like just sitting there stretching, but I do like piddling in my garden.
My energy levels as a human are different when I get over 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
I just feel different. And it's something as simple as that. It doesn't depend. Like, I could have a super hard CrossFit workout and I hit like 7,000 steps for the day, and I feel like a slug.
Hmm.
But I could not work out at all and hit 12,000 steps, and I feel really good about my day,
Right.
about my energy output.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, because most people would think the opposite. They think, oh, I had this really intense workout.
Well, I think what ends up happening is people do this really intense workout. They throw all their energy into that workout, and that's it for the day.
They're toast. Yeah.
They're toast. And so their body is in recovery, and they're not able to be active the rest of the day. So consequently, their caloric expenditure output is vastly lower than the person who went and walked 12,000 steps today, which is interesting. I'm not saying that's the end all be all, because I believe in resistance training for body composition and fat loss, but like there's something to be said for that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just the daily movement. You know, that I can't remember the author, but the book Blue Zones, and it focuses on people in communities where they have a high percentage of people 100 years old and more. And that was one of their things.
Is that the like the Seventh-day Adventist study or something like that?
I don't know if that is or not.
No, I've heard of the Blue Zones though.
Yeah, so, and he wrote about it, and that was one of the keys, was that they have daily activity. He gave the example of in Japan, beds and mattresses are on the ground. So at all ages of life, you have to have the motor skills and the core strength to pull yourself up from a laying supine position on the ground. No lifts, no arm brace, nothing. You roll off of your mat and you push yourself up. So 9 to 99 people are doing that. And there's a certain strength that's developed in being able to handle your body later in age that comes from simple acts like that. You know, it's pretty powerful.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, you know.
I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and think about what we do is we have assists around here. You know, we have ramps to prevent us from walking up steps. We have elevators to prevent us from we have wheelchairs and strollers to prevent us from walking. We have, you know, ways to assist us, but in the long term, maybe hurting us.
I've read a lot of studies recently that talks about like the ability to retain muscle mass. And the reality is like once you gain a certain amount of muscle mass, it is so easy to keep on. Like not necessarily to gain more, but just to maintain like X percentage, 80 to 90% of that muscle mass, like you can retain with minimal effort.
Right.
Right.
It is interesting.
It's interesting. So what I'm getting at is like, you put in the work for X amount of years and your life will be easier down the road. Like you just need to put in that work for a little bit of time. And so I think about now, like I've been putting in the work for a decade, you know, in terms of resistance training. And here I am where I can work out 35 minutes, 4 days a week and still feel really good about my muscle composition or my body composition. Now, my nutrition is huge when it comes to that. Absolutely huge, because I recognize that I can maintain my look through nutrition and not fitness. So I'm not chasing a weight. I'm not chasing a calorie output because I know my calorie input is exactly what it needs to be.
Right.
And it just makes life easier. So the point I'm trying to make is that I just want people to stop chasing something via fitness. Like ask some experts, like how do I need to accomplish this, and listen to them, trust that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I think overall your body is a reflection of how you fuel it and how you move it. And if you want it to look differently in any way, then you have to really reassess how you fuel it and how you move it. I chuckle at some of my friends, two of my best friends, high energy guys, could sell anything to anybody. Both athletic. One of them was could have been a collegiate baseball player, super talented. He's creative musician. He studied, went into school, and he is now in the IT world, and he looks like still like
Yeah.
a baseball player. He's got broad shoulders, thick forearms, big hands, and he sits at a computer typing all day. And my other bud is the same way, high energy, just a great personality. And he sits with a headpiece on behind a computer all day. He's an air traffic controller.
Oh.
And they both sit all day. And their bodies are not made to sit. I mean, you could see them
Yeah.
moving around, and you can see these guys are meant to be physical. They're males that are meant to be outside doing hard stuff,
Right.
And they're both sitting there. So that person then has to work harder in a way than the person who has a movement-based lifestyle,
Yeah.
where they can naturally interject these times to walk more steps, lift more things, balance and stretch their body, and they have a career kind of almost working against them, And I was like, man, I think about that a lot. I look at body types because we all have a genetic kind of tendency of what we're going to look like.
Yeah.
And then there's an amount of work based upon your basic gene makeup, what you have to do to change that. And some people really have to work hard, really have to change their diet to change, and others don't because of
I would say like genetics don't define who you are, but they certainly give some people advantages.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's no different than like being born to a wealthy set of parents.
That's right.
Your life will be a little bit easier than someone who's born in the projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by a little bit, I mean a lot.
A lot.
But the same can be said for genetics as well.
So you said that muscle mass thing, and I had a scary experience with that recently when I was sick, and I lost 20 pounds, and I was super dehydrated. I was anemic for a long time.
And 20 pounds is a lot for Ryan. His weight is already pretty low. What do you weigh?
Yeah, I'm under 160.
Yeah.
So it's more than 10% of my weight.
Yeah.
And it came off quickly, and there was nothing I could do to put it back on. I was just in a state of depletion. I was really sick. And one of the things that scared me most having been a cyclist for a long time, is I have good balance and good leg strength. And within a month, I went to look like I had grandpa legs.
Yeah.
Like 90-year-old, big knees.
Well, you couldn't fuel your muscles.
Couldn't fuel the muscles. They had no energy in them. And I couldn't hydrate enough. The digestive system was a wreck because I was overloaded with antibiotics and everything else.
Yeah.
I wasn't absorbing nutrients. They were trying to pump it into me IV, and it still wasn't sticking. And that was one of the scariest things for me, is that getting out of the bed, not only did I look horrible, but it took so much effort.
Yeah.
And recently, I had a turn in my health, and through lots of work and treatment. And just last night, now 7 weeks ago, I was on oxygen assist, and I was still probably 15 pounds underweight.
Texting the babysitter.
Oh yeah.
Keep going.
And just last night, Linda said, "I can't believe you've already gotten your leg strength back." And
Came back quickly.
It came back quickly. I mean, bounced back as soon as things started sticking, and my GI tract got straight again, and I got off the antibiotics and got off the steroids and started getting rest. It was really shocking how quickly it came back, because in my mind, I thought part of me that's gone forever. To see it shed that quickly.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I finally got a six pack after 30 something years, hoping and praying that I would get one. Right, I finally got one. Right, and I remember it took like 6 months, maybe a year. Every day I woke up, I'm like, is it still there?
Right.
Is it still there? Like I thought it was going to go away. And I remember when I was in Wyoming, I didn't prepare right mentally, and it was just a shit show of epic proportions in terms of how I ate. And I beat myself up so bad mentally, and I was retaining water like crazy. And when I got home, that six pack wasn't there. And I freaked the fuck out. Okay.
Right.
And I have a coach as well. Like everyone should have a coach. That's what I always say. Everyone should have a coach. And he's like, Bradley, just go back to doing your thing. You don't need to do anything special. Just go back to weighing and tracking like you were before.
Sure.
It'll be fine. Within 4 days, I had my six-pack again.
That's amazing.
4 days. And I mean, it was water weight, but like, just point is once you do the hard work to get there, it can take minimal effort to keep it. Okay. And it's just the act of being willing to take that journey. Yeah. And so many people are like afraid of the journey, or I'll never get it. You just have to take the first step. Yeah. And then focus on the process. I just had that conversation with a client of mine in nutrition. He's very focused on a specific weight goal. He's already lost 50 pounds with me. Already lost 50 pounds, okay, in about a year. And he had some massive like mental blocks and roadblocks that came up in his personal life that he was still able to accomplish despite 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of plateau because of all these roadblocks in his life. But he kept responding to me. I kept him engaged. We got through the roadblocks, and here we are. But I told him, I was like, stop focusing on this number. I want you to focus on the next meal. And then the meal after that. Mm-hmm. You know, if we try to do a million things this week because you got excited about some weight loss and you're focused on that number, you're going to wear yourself out and we won't get there. Okay. Let's just focus on the process. Yeah. And that's how Nick Saban wins championships, right? Yeah. Most people know that. He focuses on the process. He cares about the score at the end of the game, but it's how did you perform on play number 22, play number 23, play number 24? Did you make your assignment? That's what he cares about. That's what he's looking at.
Yeah.
You know, the practice in July, right? Like, hey, you missed this block on a Tuesday practice in July, 2 months away from the football season, you know? Like, that's what I need you to focus on. I don't want you to worry about the playoffs at the end of the year. Right. Let's focus on this practice on Tuesday.
I wish I could remember her name. She's pretty stunning. Follow her on Instagram. She's a ballerina, super intense dancer, professional dancer. And she's just quirky as all hell. But she did a post once because all of her photo shoots, she's just striking. She's a beautiful lady. She's obviously worked hard to keep herself in shape. But she does a great job of posting at non-peak times. And she'll say, I want you to understand that my body is like everyone else's. I respond to hydration, to hormones. Yeah. And for women especially, that's a big one. But I bet for guys, I would say too, because cortisol is a stress hormone. Yeah. And the body responds differently to that and how you hang on to
I'll tell food. A story about that in a second.
Yeah. And so her posting those pictures and that explanation of this is the transition that, you know, my body goes through almost monthly or weekly was refreshing to see because you experienced it too. You know, you have a bad weekend or so. Are you going to let that beat you up for weeks, months, or whatever? Or are you going to accept that as part of the process, refocus on the steps, and get back into the motion?
So right around Hurricane Ida, I guess this was the end of August, right? Hurricane Ida, which was like a month removed from when I got back from Wyoming. So we went at the end of mid-July, I believe. And so I got back and I had gotten my body back. I was pretty cut up and shredded again. Hurricane Ida hits, and that's kind of when my life became altered for good. And every week presented more stress and new stress, day to day, and I was just surviving. Meanwhile, I weighed and tracked my food every fucking day, okay? Because I can control that, right? But what happened is I started gaining weight every single day. Now, the odd thing is I didn't look like I was weighed, okay? I was pretty okay with it. Like I was becoming scale resistant. But, you know, for someone who suffered from body dysmorphia for years, like seeing that number go up on the scale every day, despite you were doing all the right things, is pretty jarring. Yeah. Okay. And I actually I cut my calories to try to take the water off. Did not budge. And then finally, like when I accepted my situation, the water started to go away and my weight started to come down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was the stress that I was carrying that was creating that weight gain.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of went through another stressful thing again, and then I kind of let some stuff all out this past weekend, and I dropped another 4 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
Yeah.
And I had a client of mine, she's going through a difficult situation in her life. And we started tracking macros. And through the first 4 weeks of the program, she actually gained weight. And she's like, I don't understand. I'm doing this diet program, this nutrition program with you. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I want my money back. I'm like, look, your life is getting crazier each week.
Yeah.
Like, we're journaling about it. Like, I'm reading about it. Like, this is some heavy, heavy stuff. Like, this is your body responding and trying to protect you in a way that's creating some inflammatory things. And that is what's happening. And sure as enough, like, and I love seeing this, is we ask people to rate their, how they feel on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being bad, 5 being great. And as soon as those like 2s and 3s changed to 3s, 4s, and 5s, she had a 4 pound drop. And nothing else changed except how she felt.
Right. Wow.
And weight came off. And so point being here is there's many, many factors to fluctuations in weight. And I think people tend to forget how important, you know, stress is and sleep. You know, those two things. I mean, I thought of those because you were talking about cortisol levels, but that's hugely important. There are so many factors. And again, that's why, like, I want to balance people in the gym. I want to balance their intensity levels. I want to balance their recovery. I want to balance how they work nutrition into their life, because that whole health, when we talk about it mentally, emotionally, and physically, is super important.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think as you get older and as you move through different times in your life, it becomes even more important. I remember it when I was younger. If I didn't recognize it till later, but probably in my late 20s, early 30s, I was doing more triathlon. And anytime, I didn't recognize this till the back end of it, but when people started saying, oh man, you look really good right now, that was a mental check of, I was using fitness to cope with not being good inside, right? So I was in an adrenaline-based endurance sport, looking for that high. So that became like a light going off for me when people would say, man, you look really lean, you look really good. I'm like, oh geez, you know, I need to sit for a second and see where I am with this, you know. Whereas now I think mentally I'm in a much better place, and I accept those fluctuations in my physical appearance and my strength. You know, I don't like to see the major ones that I went through with, you know, being sick, but certainly recognize there are days where I wake up and I can run X amount of miles comfortably, and there's other days where just getting through that first mile is, you know, a real challenge.
Do you use fitness to chase endorphins, or is that just a happy result you get because you use fitness for something else in your life?
So initially I chased the endorphins.
Yeah.
And then at some point there was some clarity achieved. And now it just fits naturally into my life.
I'm the same way. And I find that if you continually chase the endorphins, it can be rather destructive. Like fitness can end up turning unhealthy.
Yes. I got out of registered runs and rides when it became about the medal.
Yeah.
Like when people started.
Well, you're not a professional athlete, so pushing yourself where like the end result is everything,
right?
Or the endorphins are everything. Well, then you forget like all these other markers in your life that are like, hey, slow down.
Yeah.
Chill out. Take a break.
Right. I did something funny one day. I like to go and volunteer. I live out near the lakefront, and a lot of the longer runs and rides are out there. And I'll go out there just spontaneously and just volunteer at a water station, give out waters and such. And I was at one time where it was like mile 15, so it was past the half marathon split and into the first part of the marathon. And I was going through like a mental checklist of people like, brother, you should have turned off at the half. Like I'm telling you right now. I was not saying this. Everyone I was saying, you look great, keep it up. You know, here's some water, all that stuff. But it was very clear that some people were doing something that they had trained up for and was natural to them. They looked a certain way. They carried it. They breathed a certain way. And then there are other people that were fighting and grinding this thing. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you doing this? You know, just turn around and walk back, you know.
To say they did it.
To say they did it. And is that helpful to their body? Because if you sit back and you look at those people, you'll see a lot of them running with odd gaits and strained backs and pain in their face. You know, it's not enjoyable. And
one of the things that I've gotten a lot better at in the past year, in terms of being a fitness and nutrition coach, is trying to understand the why behind why someone does something. So for example, if someone comes up to me and they're like, well, I want to run a marathon by the end of the year. Okay, why? Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there needs to be meaning behind why you want to do something, because a year from now might be a terrible goal based off of your current lifestyle and stuff like that. Or, you know, I want to achieve X results by this day. Okay, why? It can create a better picture, and maybe we can reframe what you're actually trying to accomplish, and refine the goal a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's so important to understand why you're doing it and to be real about it. You know, if you're training like a mad woman because, you know, bikini season's coming up and you're having a reunion or something like that, be real about it. Say, you know, I want to look great for my reunion, and
be real about it. I love that. Be real
about it. You know, if you're running and you want to do a marathon because you really want that medal and you want to display it in your office so your coworkers will say that you're obviously a marathon runner, be real about that too. Don't, you know, just say, I want to be able to hang up a medal and say that I completed this thing. You know, some people want to be runners. Some people just want to finish a marathon. You know. And it was like when I was doing triathlon, it was like, was I doing this to compete or to complete? And when I started to recognize I was doing it to complete, I was like, well, I can complete it on another day.
Right.
A lot less people.
Right.
Have a lot more enjoyment.
I think people forget too why they come to the gym. And that's like, kind of like, I get this question all the time. Do you guys still do CrossFit? And in fact, I'll just say this. There are other CrossFit gyms out there telling people we don't do CrossFit. Okay. That's something they have to deal with. I don't really care. Okay. We are technically an affiliate, and I think CrossFit is a methodology. But the fact of the matter is like, every single person needs to understand why they are coming to the gym. Why did they choose this type of fitness? So here at Rue, like, my goal isn't for anyone to be able to go to some CrossFit competition and podium. That is not my fucking goal. And if that's your goal, can you achieve that here? Absolutely. If that is the main reason why you were working out, to go to some competition and stand up on a podium, then you should go to a different gym.
Yeah.
Like, that is not what I care about. Okay. If you've been listening to this podcast so far, I care about your health. I care about your longevity. I care about how smartly I program your workouts on a daily basis, so that on Monday doesn't affect Wednesday, that affects Thursday and Friday, and now you have a shitty weekend because you can't walk right. Or if I continually do these types of things, that'll make you podium at a competition so you can be first in the scale division. Okay. Right. Like, you're going to have a jacked up knee and bad hip flexors in a year and a half because I didn't keep your health in mind. Right. And so it just leads more into people understanding why. And I mean, that's just a longer version of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and then where that translates to everyday life is that I was talking to a friend about my illness recently, and he too was fitness focused in his life. And he said, for all these years, I thought I was training to run a race or to compete in this and that. I was really training to survive a hard event.
Yeah.
Because at some point in your life, you're going to be medically challenged, whether it be a heart issue, a diabetes, cancer, something like that. And your lifestyle and whether or not you've challenged yourself on a daily basis through fitness will dictate how you respond and how you heal in that moment. So for me, that was another awakening, because people would say, I feel so sorry for you because your lungs are really affected. You may never be able to ride the bike or play the horn again. And my response was, well, thank God I did ride the bike and play the horn, because I feel my lungs are stronger than most people's.
Yeah.
Because of that, my tolerance has been built up.
I love that. I love, and man, when I started CrossFit, that's what we talked about, being fit for life.
Yeah.
Kevin has a shirt. Our coach Kevin has a shirt that says, CrossFitters are harder to kill.
Yeah.
Right?
He's really hard to kill.
Yeah.
I've seen him warming up, just doing ridiculous bad carries and things through the gym.
But that's true. Like, that was the original intention.
Yeah.
And it's turned into some shit show of intramural sports.
Right. It is an intramural sport.
Intramural sport, right? Like, you're basically playing co-ed indoor soccer or flag football or tag normally, except you're throwing around heavy weights. So.
Yeah, and you talked about wear and tear on body. I can tell you now, a few years out from 50, one of the biggest compliments that someone gives me or Linda regarding to appearance, it doesn't come down to biceps or quads or calves or anything like that. They'll say, "You're how old?"
I love that.
That's when, all right, the work is worth it, because we just shocked somebody by telling them how old we were and that we have kids that are, in college.
Yeah.
There's no way you have kids. How old are you? That's a bigger compliment to me than saying, I love your pecs.
Yeah.
Or I wish I had pecs like you. That doesn't mean anything. I don't have any pecs, but if I did, that doesn't mean anything to me, It's the carrying yourself with an energy and a vibrance.
Well, it's funny. Like, I hear you talking about that, and I agree. And 2 years ago, I wouldn't have agreed with that. It would have been different for me, because guys, like, things change as we get older and as life goes on, and you just need to be able to recognize that and be willing to move with it. Mm-hmm. Interesting thing, like. One of the things I talked about with my therapist, which I love. I never had a therapist. Now I've had a therapist. I've been to like 10 sessions. And I talked about, for the longest time, me being like one of those ships in the Arctic Ocean that's carving a path through the ice so that other ships can go through. And that's not how I want to be, and that's not how I want to operate now. And now I find myself operating more like a stream that is moving with how the banks of the river provide. And I'm responding to the external stimulus in the world and reacting to that and moving with it instead of trying to carve my way through it. It's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. There's a time and place for everything. But for me now, I find that life is so much easier if you respond and react rather than trying to just cut right through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the analogy. If you're ever sitting in traffic and it's raining and you're in your car, and just take a second and watch a drop of rain move down your windshield.
Oh, to the windshield, yeah. It's interesting, yeah.
I love it, because it moves kind of left and right, jiggles and slows down, speeds up. It'll pick up a couple of other drops and run to a section. Yeah, the older I get, the more I am to kind of work my way through resistance versus challenging it and butting it
Yeah.
with strong thoughts and actions.
We're officially at 90 minutes, the longest podcast we've ever done. I need to go pick up my kids. What? It is 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
What? And you got to ride back to Lakeview.
Yep.
Or no, past that.
Yeah.
What? Any last questions for me?
You talked about a gift recently. What's a really good gift you've received? You were talking about your cutting board that
A friend gave me a cutting board. But I love handwritten notes.
Yeah.
I love receiving them. I don't get them that often, but I do love them.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like the gift of time.
Yes.
Anyone can order something off of Amazon
Right.
and send it to you. That's super easy.
Yep.
Okay. And I think thoughtfulness is something, right?
Yeah.
But handwriting out a note.
Yep.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my cousin David Kenny. He told me, I don't know if he still does this, but he told me for a while, every Thanksgiving, he would write something like 3 thank you notes to someone who influenced his life in a positive way every year. And he would do that at Thanksgiving and send those out.
Yeah, 3 is not a big number, but how? Yeah.
Can you imagine receiving that?
Wow. Yeah. So my good buddy Matt, who lives out in California, spend a lot of time with, he introduced me to this concept, and I'll flip over my calendar to show you. But he leaves little positive sticky notes when he visits. So yeah, he left the one, Ryan, isn't it great that we can march to different drum yet have such strong connections with others? You have always inspired me to do both.
You get me.
Thank you, X and O. And he, I don't remember where, but this was probably in my house. There are several drums. So he made a drum reference. It was probably on a drum. Like I'll sometimes take a random box out of my pantry and there'll be a sticky note on it. Or I'll open up my sock drawer and I'll find a note from him. So I've since started doing that when I visit or hang out with people. And I'll leave a little note. It's a lot faster than a handwritten note.
Yeah, but I like it. Yeah,
it's just a really cool way to just tell someone you love them, you think about them, and I keep his because he put several of them in my planner. So if you flip through my planner, I have the ones that he keeps because I like to go back and read them. They mean that much to me.
Well, that's one thing. We talked about before what gets me excited and stuff like that, and I kind of talked about for a while all the shitty things I did over time. But one of the things that I definitely want to strive to get better at is like personal connections, where I feel like I'm trying to do so much that I'm losing the things that are super important. And it's like being a good friend and reaching out to people and stuff like that. And I mean, it doesn't always work. People's lives get super busy and we get caught up in our own shit, but I could be more thoughtful.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I'm working to improve myself is that I often deflect when people try to give me love, and love in the form of words, an affirmation, a thank you. I'm a little socially awkward, so I'll deflect that. Whatever, it was nothing. Instead of just stopping and really embracing that. I think that's a way we can all grow, is that when someone reaches out and extends that, is to just truly open your heart and receive it in a way and say thank you. That means a lot that you said that. I do that by harvesting these moments in my day where I try to recognize those moments. And when I recognize them, I share that recognition. So, for example, I would say, Bradley, it means a lot to me that you would ask me to do this for your birthday. I appreciate our friendship and the time we spend together. So I've recognized it, I've shared it. So you and I are now connected in that thought and in that emotion. And then later in the day, I'll usually write that down, that positive moment. And then I'll nurture it later with thoughts. So later in the day, I'll reflect back either at my writing or my thoughts and say, that was a really good feeling sitting with Brad for 90 minutes and doing that podcast. You know, it really felt great, you know, and I found that those interactions are so valuable and have allowed my heart to expand. And it's something that I have to work on. You know, I really have to work, because when you get busy in your day, you don't necessarily stop and recognize those, you know, and recognizing those interactions is so key. Just, you know, being present and thanking someone. I was trying to think of a story. Someone, it'll come back to me, but it was about one of those thankful moments where, I think I thanked someone and it really blew them away. And they came back to me later and said how much that redirect. They were having a bad day. That's what it was. It was a friend I was talking to recently. And I just shared something that, hey, you know, I've always loved your laugh and it just fills my heart. And it's good to see you. And I wish I had a laugh like you. Well, he was having a bad day. I didn't know that. We were having just a chance encounter. And I heard him laugh as part of it. And he later came back and said, I don't know if you knew that I needed to hear that, but you said something and it, you know, it filled my heart and filled me in a way that carried me forward. So
I love that. I mean, I think, and we're going to wrap it up right here, guys. Bedtime for the kids. Bedtime for Ryan. But I think one thing that has really resonated throughout this entire conversation you and I had, and it kept coming up again and again and again. And it's being present, whether it's being present in the moment or being present in an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And opening your heart to receive that.
I love it.
Abundance, for sure.
All right. Well, Ryan, thanks for doing this, man.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Peace out.